All right, folks, let's talk about the state of Texas in the 2026 midterms. There's been talk all these years about Blexis. Is Texas going to go blue? Are they going to elect Beto O'Rourke over Ted Cruz? They didn't. Are they going to elect Colin Allred over Ted Cruz? They didn't. Texas has remained red, but people keep talking about Blexis. So we're going to talk about in 2026, could they elect a Democratic senator? Newsweek reports a new poll of the 2026 Texas Senate race shows Attorney General Ken Paxton leading candidate in the Republican primary, trailing former Representative Colin Allred, a Democrat in the Lone Star State. Democrats hope to make the race for the seat competitive, particularly if Paxton defeats Senator John Cornyn in the GOP primary, but a Cornyn campaign spokesperson told Newsweek the campaign is confident in his chances. Well, of course they would say that. They always got to project confidence. They can't say, oh, we're not confident in his chances. We're afraid that we're going to get our butts kicked. No, of course they got to say they're confident. So why does it matter? Republicans hold a Senate majority with 53 seats. Democrats have 47 seats. The Democratic Party hopes to take back the majority in the 2026 midterms, but they face a challenging map. That is true. Tim Walz has pointed that out, that he's saying, yeah, the Democrats might not actually win the Senate. You know, the Republicans might keep it just because it's a bad map. And he said he's pessimistic, and I sort of agree. So GOP held seats in Maine, which backed Kamala Harris, and North Carolina, which backed Trump by only about 3 points in 2024, are viewed as Democrats' best flip opportunities in the midterms. Beyond those two, they'll have to flip states Trump won by double digits to reclaim a majority. Other double-digit Trump states they are eyeing include Alaska, Florida, Iowa, and Ohio, but Republicans are favored in each of those races. Yeah, especially going to be rough in Alaska. Alaska has only ever in a presidential election voted Democratic once, and that was in the Lyndon B. Johnson landslide of 1964 against Barry Goldwater. That was the one time we had Blue Alaska, aka Blalaska. So Texas has for decades been a reliably Republican state. Although it became more competitive in the 2010s, Democrats have been unable to flip it, and the state did move rightward again last year. Still, some Democrats believe it could be competitive next year if Trump's approval fuels a 2018-style blue wave. You know, it could fuel something even stronger because 2018, yeah, it was kind of a blue wave, but it definitely could have been better because, again, it was just a rough Senate map for the Democrats. It was rough, and so the Republicans ended up gaining a seat. Josh Hawley defeated Claire McCaskill in the state of Missouri. So the Republicans gained a seat in the Senate, and the Democrats won the House, which is good for them. Having the House is better than not having the House. But, Trump's approval rating is looking like it's going to be worse this time than it was in 2018. He's off to a worse start objectively, approval-wise, than he was during his first term right now. So if he keeps tanking things, could there be a massive blue wave in 2026? One that is just like, whoa, hold on, they're winning Senate seats in red states. It's possible, but I've cautioned other political commentators who are very certain that Trump is shooting himself in the foot completely and that the Republican Party is cooked. I've cautioned them to not get their hopes up too much. So on the Republican side, a competitive primary is already brewing between Cornyn and Paxton, who's primarying the incumbent from the right. Oh boy. Paxton has cast Cornyn as insufficiently conservative, but Cornyn has been a well-known senator who has performed well against Democrats in the past. Yeah, Cornyn is more low profile than Ted Cruz, which is probably a good thing when you're a Republican. Ted Cruz is a guy who purports to be a constitutional conservative. He's Ivy League educated, law school guy, pretty sharp, gets mocked a lot, for stuff like looking like a blobfish. And then he grew his beard out and he doesn't really get those comparisons anymore. But yeah, he gets mocked for just like his smarmy kind of behavior. Google search Kyle Kulinski's impression of Ted Cruz. But he's a guy who's able to do well. He beat Beto O'Rourke. He beat Colin Allred. He came in second place in the Republican primary in 2016. So he's not a total joke. John Cornyn, on the other hand, keeps a low profile and has been able to pretty consistently win as well. But Ken Paxton, I guess he's going out there and saying this guy's not conservative enough, which I wonder if it's just another way of saying he doesn't kiss President Trump's butt enough. So a new poll from the Senate Leadership Fund, which is supporting Cornyn, showed Paxton leading Cornyn by 10 points in a hypothetical primary. Punchbowl News reported this week. The poll showed Paxton with 44%, Cornyn with 34%, and GOP Representative Wesley Hunt, who has been floated as a potential candidate, with 19%. But in the general election, Cornyn would fare best against Allred, who unsuccessfully challenged Ted Cruz in last year's election, according to the poll. Allred has not officially announced the 2026 Senate campaign, but is widely seen as a likely Democratic contender. Cornyn led by 6 points, while Hunt led Allred by 4 points. Paxton, however, trailed Allred by 1 point, the poll found. Okay, so that's kind of like a statistical tie. Newsweek reached out to Paxton's campaign for comment via email. The poll was conducted April 27th to May 1st. Sample size and margin of error have not been reported publicly. Despite these polls, winning Texas would be a major uphill challenge for Allred or another Democrat. Texas has not voted Democratic on the presidential level since 1976 and has not voted for a Democratic senator since 1988. The state last elected a Democratic governor in 1990. Wow, those are ancient years, aren't they? So yeah, 1976, that of course was the year that Jimmy Carter was on the ballot, and Jimmy Carter was a Southern Democrat. It was a pretty awkward year electorally because the Republican Gerald Ford actually won California. So yeah, it's weird to think of blue Texas and red California. But yeah, a Republican has not lost Texas since 1976. So it's going to be tough. But history can be made. Democrats can turn things around. President Trump, if he screws the pooch hard enough, sorry for that image of President Trump screwing a pooch, but if he messes the economy up badly enough, he could pay the price for it at the Senate level. So this isn't the first poll to suggest Cornyn is vulnerable to Paxton in the primary. A Texas public opinion research poll conducted with Lake Research Partners found Cornyn with 27% support and Paxton with 38% in the primary. 16% were still undecided, and 7% would vote for someone else. The poll surveyed 700 registered voters in March 2025. A separate poll in mid-April by a pollster founded by Brad Parscale, formerly Donald Trump's 2020 presidential campaign manager, showed in a general election 52% of Texans would likely back Allred against Paxton, who received 37% support. Wow. Paxton seems like a Trumpist. He seems like a Trump cultist, and it doesn't seem like that fares well with the American people. Wow. Imagine that. A Trump cultist, not doing all too well when Trump is doing bad things to the American economy with this tariff talk and is deregulating the administrative state and firing people losing their federal jobs, and talking about making Canada our 51st state and talking about going to war with Denmark in order to get Greenland. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine not being all that popular with Texans and with, non-Republican voters in the state of Texas when the Republican president is acting completely unhinged. Very interesting. John Cornyn is the safe option. It's plain to see. So is Colin Allred running for Senate? Democrats view him as a potentially strong candidate as polls show him up against Paxton. Although he fell short against Ted Cruz last year, he performed stronger than Harris in the state. Damn, okay, pretty good. While Harris lost Texas by about 13.7 points, Allred lost by only 8.5 points, performing stronger in suburban areas, as well as the Rio Grande Valley, a heavily Hispanic area that shifted toward Trump last year. Allred has declined to rule out another Senate run, telling the Dallas Morning News in March he is considering running. He's a former NFL linebacker and was first elected to the House in the 2018 midterms, flipping a traditionally Republican seat in the Dallas suburbs. Okay, good for him. Good for him. Kicking those incumbents out in the state of Texas in a traditionally Republican area. The writing could be on the walls. The writing could be on the walls for a Democratic senator being elected in Texas. But we'll see if the Republicans make the right choice in the primary. If they choose the lunatic, they might get their butts kicked. They might pay the price for that. Let me know what you think in the comments below about the chances of Texas electing a Democrat in 2026 for the Senate. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Morris the Merrier. Please like, comment, or subscribe to this channel, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.